So, there's been a lot of talk about an attack on Indian ships in one of the most critical oil routes on the planet. But was it really a targeted act of aggression? Well, that's what we're here for. In this explainer, we're going to cut through all that noise and get right to the facts of what really went down in the Strait of Hormuz.
All right, let's just get right to it. The big question on everyone's mind. Was there an actual attack on Indian ships? The short answer, yes. Something definitely happened. But, the devil's in the details, and that's where things get interesting.
So, to really wrap our heads around this whole situation, we've got to start with the basics. What do we actually know for sure? Let's unpack the events of that day.
Okay, so the date you want to circle on your calendar is April 18, 2026. That's the day reports started flying about a pretty serious incident in the Strait of Hormuz, which, as you know, is one of the most critical waterways in the entire world.
So here's what we know for a fact. This isn't speculation. We have confirmation that 2 ships flying the Indian flag were fired on. And get this, the situation was so tense that other ships in the area actually had to turn around and change course. I mean, that tells you just how much the risk level shot up right then and there.
Okay, so that's the what. We know what happened. But the million-dollar question, right, is the why. Was this a deliberate shot at India, or is there something else going on here?
And this is where we have to draw a really important line in the sand. The line between suspicion and actual evidence. I mean, look, the gut reaction, and it's totally understandable, was, hey, they're targeting India. But when you look for the hard proof, as of right now, there's just no concrete evidence to back that up.
Yeah, and this is so important to remember. This whole thing didn't just happen out of the blue. The Strait of Hormuz is, and has been for a long time, a major geopolitical hotspot. You've got these long-standing tensions, especially between Iran and a lot of Western countries. That context, it's everything.
And here's the bottom line, really. The danger in that strait isn't just for one country's ships. It's a risk for everyone. Because of all that political friction simmering under the surface, any ship flying any flag is basically sailing through a high-risk zone. It's an equal opportunity danger, you could say.
So, obviously, with something this alarming happening, the Indian government wasn't just going to sit back and watch. Nope. They moved fast and they moved decisively to both deal with the threat and, demand some answers. India's Ministry of External Affairs took 3 big, very clear steps right away. 1, they went public and said, hey, we are seriously concerned about this. 2, they called in the Iranian ambassador, basically telling them, you've got some explaining to do. And 3, they cranked up security for all Indian vessels in the area. No messing around.
And this wasn't just talk, by the way. This official response was backed up with real action at sea. It's worth pointing out that the Indian Navy is already out there. They already have a presence in the region, so they're on it, actively monitoring everything and making sure those ships are protected. Okay, so we've got the incident and we've got the response. But to really get why this is such a big deal, we need to pull the camera back a bit. Let's talk about why this narrow little waterway is, no joke, one of the most important places on Earth.
It really all boils down to one single number. Just one. And that number is 20%. So, 20% of what? Well, that's the key.
That's right. About 20%, 1/5 of the entire world's oil supply, sails right through the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about a critical choke point for the global economy. Every single one of those tankers is like a link in the chain that keeps our lights on and our cars running. It's a huge deal. And, it's a pretty simple chain reaction from there. Any trouble in the strait, even a hint of it, can make global oil prices jump. And for a country like India, which imports a ton of its energy, that's not just some abstract number on the news. That's a direct hit to the economy. It affects everything.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. We've looked at the incident, the bigger picture, what's at stake. So what's the real story here? Let's boil it down.
If you walk away with anything from this, it should be these 3 key points. Number 1, the incident was real. It happened. Number 2, yes, Indian ships were involved. They were affected. But number 3, and this is really the most crucial part, there is no solid evidence to say this was a direct attack on India.
So really, the best way to frame this is not as a deliberate attack on one country. It's better to see it as a regional consequence. It's a symptom of all that tension we talked about, a situation where, frankly, ships from any country could get caught in the crossfire.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about.
When you consider just how deep these tensions run in such a vital part of the world, you have to ask yourself, could this get